What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Warriors. Wow, finally snapped that 6-game losing streak that was starting to snowball really quickly. Obviously, last game against the Thunder, the overtime loss that, really hurt to watch, especially because that was Andrew Wiggins' breakout game of the season. And, it felt like for the first time the offense had sort of come alive to an extent. But they just couldn't hold it together and still ended up losing. But tonight against the Rockets, a team that has continued to improve so far during the season with Ime Udoka, Fred VanVleet helping out, Dylan Brooks playing probably the best basketball of his career, Alperen Sengun hit the steps he's taking, obviously Jalen Green, Jabari Smith improving. They're a really good squad. Dominic and I were pretty high on them coming into the season. I know, I kind of let off the gas with them a little bit, but they're a very good team. They're one of the best defensive teams in the league, and they've been very impressive. However, the Warriors finally, to not go 0 in their homestand here, come out with the win 121-116, led by none other, none other than Mr. Stephen Curry with 32 points. It was a big night. For the first time, it felt like everything was kind of going. Nobody really played poorly and to any extent. I think everybody just had themselves a solid game. Typically this season, it's been one dude goes off, everybody else is quiet. Two guys go off, everybody else is quiet. All within that, the percentages are low, the turnovers are high. It's just been a kind of a struggle this season to get anything rolling and clicking at once. But tonight, the Warriors really had it going. Biggest thing here, Klay finally having that 20-point night we've been waiting for. The shooting for him finally came along. Ended with 20 points, 5 of 11 from 3. Was 7 of 16 from the field. He was, he kind of caught fire in the first quarter, and we know when Klay's, when he feels like he's on a heater, he just starts chucking. Sucks, but that's kind of how he is, so you just deal with it. But still, Klay finally had himself a night. He's had a couple efficient nights, but just the scoring has not been to like the 18 to 20 point margin, we've talked about looking for. But he finally hit that, and like we said, if other guys could come along for the ride with Steph, then we're okay as a team. That was the only question I had, was the offense needs to come around together and click. There needs to be multiple guys that can just go out and get 20 something. It doesn't have to be every night, but someone has to come along for the ride aside from Steph on a nightly basis. It's just kind of how it's going to be, unless everybody's just going to shoot the lights out, which the Warriors shot the ball well tonight, but still, they could do better, maybe not from 3, but from the field. But yeah, Klay had a fantastic night, 20 points, 7 of 16 from the field, 5 of 11 from 3, made his one and only free throw, 3 boards, 3 assists, only 1 turnover, only 1 foul. That was the other thing. Klay just had an efficient game in every other way. Not making a lot of mistakes, not really catching himself in too many unfavorable predicaments where he drives to the baseline, nothing's open, and he kind of just loses it, or passes it where no one's at. None of those mistakes. So Klay overall just had a fantastic game, and it's something this Warriors team has needed, and because of that, they were able to hold on and win against the Rockets here. I want to talk about Wiggins. I already said Andrew Wiggins has a tendency to do really well and then fade away. It's like the Anthony Davis effect, Wiggins comes off this 30-point masterclass against the Thunder on Saturday. Tonight, 12 points, 3 of 10 from the field. Not the, follow-up performance we're looking for. You want to see more improvement. However, like we've said earlier, before the big night he had, is despite Wiggins' offense just struggling to be there and be consistent, what he has taken advantage of is getting on the glass, especially the offensive glass tonight, finishing with 7 rebounds, 4 on the offensive glass. Did have an assist, no turnovers, which is big. He's had some turnover issues, surprisingly, this season. I think a few 4 or 5 turnover games too, which is never what you want to see from a secondary playmaker or ball handler. And he only had 2 fouls. Also, big note here, 4 of 4 from the free throw line and 2 of 3 from 3. So, inefficiency issues. However, he played a great game everywhere else. And again, we don't need 30 points a night. I already said in the last video, that's a pipe dream with this dude. You can't expect that. He should be averaging like 25 given his build and his skill set, but that's just not who he is. However, what you want to see is if you're not going to be scoring a ton, do everything else. Be active everywhere else. Make things happen. And he did. So that was nice to see. You know, you don't want to see a fadeaway Wiggins game where it's 3 of 10, 2 rebounds, no assists, 3 turnovers, 4 fouls, 2 of 4 from the free throw line. You know, that's the Andrew Wiggins we'd seen, you know, in the first few games of this season. Kevon Looney played himself again, doing as much as he can. You know, Alperen Şengün is a tough matchup for most bigs. He's kind of got some. I mean, I know the comparison to Jokic is there, but to me, he reminds me more of Sabonis because both of them are just very bruiser-like. They're smaller. Technically, I mean, Sabonis is like 6'11", but they're still kind of smaller. They just play a lot more physical than Jokic, who's very shifty and crafty and kind of likes to bounce off of guys and make things happen. But Şengün will just go into your body and, yeah, you know, he's one of those kinds of physical big men. And that's a tough matchup for Kevon. You know, dude plays his ass off. We all know that, the Iron Man, but still, tough guard. But still coming out of this with a positive plus minus, only 3 fouls, only 5 rebounds. You're typically not going to see that from Loon, but still had himself a nice night. I wanted to pinpoint in this matchup the things that the Warriors have really struggled with and the things that they were able to turn around tonight. And this also goes back to last season too, which I know we all want to get away from, but still, you know, last season, even though there was asterisks, these issues have been a constant theme among Warriors basketball. So, number 1, turnovers. Warriors held themselves to 8 turnovers throughout this entire game against an extremely good defensive squad. We all know how Fred VanVleet plays defensively against Steph. Anytime a Fred team plays him, it's just kind of a bruiser matchup. They just all beat the shit out of Steph. No calls ever. Granted, he ended up getting to the free throw line 12 times, but that's a rarity. Warriors fans understand that. Yeah, it just those kinds of matchups. The defense is very tough, and the Warriors tend to get sloppy and give a lot of stuff away to the defense and kind of lose the game in transition. But tonight, 8 turnovers. Huge win for them, you know, along with some quality tertiary scoring. Kept control of the ball. When you do that, good things tend to happen, whether you're scoring or not, if you take care of the ball. 2, obviously the main issue of the season has been the 3-point shooting. At home in particular, just not being there. The percentage is extremely low. Tonight, 21 of 43 from 3, 49%. Do I expect them to shoot 50% from 3 every night at home? No. But when you take care of the ball, when you generate open looks, eventually they're going to start falling. And, we've talked about Wiggins needing to step up. We've talked about Klay needing to step up. Tonight, that finally happened. These two guys, they need to be, they need to be big pieces here. We need the 15 to 20 a night from Klay. We need Andrew Wiggins to be there offensively. 12 points is serviceable in a night where Klay has 20 and Steph has 32, and the bench is scoring and whatnot. But you need Wiggins to continue on the right path. You don't want to see him revert to that 10 to 12 point range. However, the 3-point shooting is coming along. So 49%, best shooting night from home or from 3 at home. That's a good sign. Hopefully the 3s start falling more at home and it's not just Steph carrying the load there. last but not least within this category of what they've struggled with. We all know, up until this season, the Warriors have really struggled to just get to the free throw line. With or without Jordan Poole, that's been a struggle for the Warriors because they shoot the ball a lot, but they've just never really had many players that generate contact and get themselves to the free throw line. But this season, with Chris Paul there, with Jonathan Kuminga trying to take strides, Andrew Wiggins trying to, just not shooting well enough to the point where he's going inside more, so he ends up getting to the free throw line more. Dario Saric and the way he's played, like getting to the free throw line has been a big factor for the Warriors just hanging in games this season. And tonight was no different, getting to the line 33 times. I can't remember a time where the Warriors have done that. Genuinely. I mean, it probably has happened relatively recently, but I can't remember. 28 of 33 as well. 85% from the free throw line. That's huge. It's another wrinkle to this Warriors game. If the shooting's there, if they're getting to the free throw line, we already know that they do well getting on the offensive glass. They also can just rebound in general. They've won a lot of rebounding matchups, just still losing the game because they turn it over too much and don't shoot well. But they've done well rebounding. They lost that battle tonight, 48-43, but that doesn't bother me. They've been very good on that end. If they can just continue to build on these three things that we're seeing them kind of take strides in right now, they're gonna be golden. They'll be solid. It sounded like before I was overreacting as far as Andrew Wiggins and Klay go, but I still stand by what I said. Like, those dudes need to show up or Wiggins gotta go. However, they're playing good basketball right now. They built off of what should have been a win, and they brought it out, and now they head into Phoenix on a high note. So, big time win here for the Warriors. Guys stepping up. Everybody as a whole coming together as a team and playing well. Last but not least, I want to talk about Chris Paul. Chris Paul, big acquisition in the offseason, replacing Jordan Poole. Obviously, Chris Paul struggled a lot in the first few games of this season with his shot in particular. And because of that, we saw a lot of, Chris Paul being passive and not taking shots he otherwise would have in years past. But the last 4 games, he's been playing like old Chris Paul. We all know how good this dude can be when he's on. Tonight, finishing with 15 points, 6 rebounds, 12 assists, only 1 turnover, 4 of 7 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, 4 of 4 from the free throw line, 2 steals, 4 fouls, but still played really good defense on Fred VanVleet as well as others. And he was a plus 12, by far the highest on the Warriors. Chris Paul in the last 4 games has been incredible. In the last 4, he's shooting 47% from 3, 47% from the field, 62% from 3, averaging 14 points, 5 boards, 9 assists, and I think like 2.5 steals. Chris Paul in the last 4 has been incredible. This is the best basketball we've seen him play with the Warriors so far. His 3 ball's been there. This is what we've wanted. I think Chris Paul is finally understanding how he can function in this offense, not only as a playmaker, but as a scorer. And he's really starting to bring that along with the efficiency as well. To start the season, his thing was, I need to be the playmaker. I need to get the offense, reeled in. Everything's kind of falling apart. Let me come in and reel things in here. But what got lost with that is, kind of becoming more of an offensive weapon and still making the defense work against you. You don't want to make yourself one-dimensional, and Chris Paul was kind of doing that to start, but that's just, working out the kinks, right? So to see him have these last 4 games where he's really starting to come alive offensively from 3, getting to the mid-range shot, getting to the free throw line, just playing all around Chris Paul basketball, this changes things. Again, Klay having a big night, Chris Paul's continued success, Andrew Wiggins still playing some good basketball. Again, the efficiency not there like you'd want, but everywhere else he's doing well. It's nice to see, man. I was very, I've been very fond of the Chris Paul move, and that's why I haven't really talked much about him in a negative, in a negative light during the start of the season, even though probably could have. I just think Chris Paul's value, regardless of his scoring, has been, light years above what Jordan Poole's value was. And now that Chris Paul is scoring, it's just even better. It's just even better. We don't even really have to talk about Steph. Steph against the Rockets is just hilarious. It's, this is kind of the matchup he likes. And Dylan Brooks. 32 points for Steph, 8 of 14 from the field, 5 of 9 from 3, 11 of 12 from the free throw line. Again, a rarity. 5 boards, 1 assist, did have 4 turnovers, but we know these, Fred VanVleet teams, Ime Udoka teams, they're going to try to really beat up Steph. So it's just getting him some efficient and open looks, as well as creating for others and making sure the offense is moving around him and getting that tertiary scoring in. Because they did, Steph didn't have to do all that much and just had a little 32-point game, nothing crazy, and the Warriors were able to hang on and win this thing. Dario Saric, I also want to mention, an incredible game. Dario has kind of been a little up and down this year. He's had some fantastic nights where the Warriors have desperately needed outside scoring, and he's been there. And then he's had a few games where the shot just wasn't falling, the rebounding wasn't quite there, and he was kind of getting, picked on defensively. But a night like tonight, +5 coming off the bench, 18 points, 5 of 10 from the field, 3 of 7 from 3, 5 of 6 from the free throw line, 5 boards, a couple assists, a steal, a block. Just Dario Saric has been incredible for the Warriors. We talked about, comparing him to Bjelica and his role that he had in 2022. But Dario Saric is just way more than Bjelica was. And that's no slight to Nemanja. I think Dario is just, a lot of people have forgotten who this guy is because he's had the injuries over the last few seasons. But I think we're seeing how integral a good Dario performance can be for the Warriors, and I hope that continues. I know as the scoring in general comes along and the shooting in general comes along, Dario is, he's just going to get more and more open looks, and he'll continue to eat. Kuminga didn't have the biggest game, 7 points, 3 of 7 from the field. Him and Moses actually kind of had identical nights, both 3 of 7 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, finished with 7 points. But Jonathan, a +8 coming off the bench. He played some good defense, did have a stretch in the early fourth quarter where he just started fouling, got a technical, and then fouled out of bounds. Immediately, Wiggins came in. But Kuminga still played pretty well. Moses, same deal, 4 boards for him, couple offensive, helped generate some defensive pressure that turned into transition scoring. They're playing well. Podziemski hit himself a 3 tonight. 5 boards for him, 3 assists as well, no turnovers. The bench, we know the bench has been like the biggest factor for this team. I mean, tonight or last night, they outscored the opponent's bench once again, 35-27. They've really done a good job at controlling the game when the starters have just not really been there. So again, you see it. If the scoring comes along, this team is fine. This team's fine. You need Wiggins and you need Klay to come along, and this team's fine. And if Chris Paul can, maybe not 15 a game or 14 a game, but just if he can get you that 10 points a night on decent efficiency, we're looking good. The team's looking good. Like I said, the Rockets, big shout out to them. A lot of good moves made this offseason. Alperen Şengün tonight, didn't even mention him. 30 points, 13 boards, 7 offensive, 5 assists, a steal and a block, 2 of 3 from 3, 13 of 23 from the field. He had himself a night. I think this Rockets team is good. Unfortunately, Fred VanVleet's still in quite the slump. 3 of 13 from the field, 1 of 8 from 3. But they did have 14 assists, 0 turnovers. So, got Fred VanVleet for a reason. Finals experience, the playmaking, and you hope eventually the 3-point shot can come along, but that's kind of been off for him the last year or so. But yeah, man, this was a big game. The Warriors finally snapped that losing streak. They head to Phoenix tomorrow to play the Suns. Still don't know if Bradley Beal's going to be playing. I know he has the back thing, but Devin Booker and KD should be playing, so going to be a tough matchup, man. You know, the Suns are still a very good team, whether it's one of three of them, two of three, or three of three. So, the offense is going to have to come along for the ride. Thankfully, the Warriors have, you know, even though it's still not too much better than at home, they've been a little bit better offensively on the road. So hopefully they can come along again. And yeah, we'll see you after that. Again, the podcast will be at some point this week. Dominic and I will, you know, schedule something here and get recording. But yeah, man, if you like the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys after or Thursday after the game, and then the Warriors get to play Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs, so that'll be fun as well. But have a good rest of your day. See you guys later. Peace.